The sky still smoked from the last Varix bombing when I found her. New Shanghai wasn't just broken, it was dying. Buildings lay like fallen giants, their bones twisted against the ash-covered streets. The acrid smell of fire and metal stung my nostrils as I moved cautiously through the rubble. "Hey, you there?" I called out, voice hoarse. Silence answered. My boots crunched over shattered glass and scorched concrete. Somewhere, a distant alarm wailed, a fading ghost of chaos. But all I could focus on was a faint sound, a soft whimper, almost drowned by the wind. "Show yourself," I barked, hand twitching toward the pistol at my side. A small shape darted from behind a crumpled car, crouching low like a frightened animal. She was no more than 12, maybe younger. Her clothes hung off her thin frame, torn and dirt-streaked. Her hair was tangled, her face smeared with soot. But her eyes, those eyes burned with a fire I couldn't look away from. "Please, don't hurt me," she whispered, voice barely a breath. I lowered my gun slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you. What's your name?" She hesitated, glancing at the ruins around us like she expected them to swallow her whole. "Lyra," she finally said. "Lyra," I repeated, nodding. "I'm Ethan. I'm here to help." She blinked, unsure. "Help? Like soldiers?" I sighed, the weight of my own scars pressing down. "Used to be. I just try to keep people alive." Her eyes searched mine, raw and searching. "Can you keep me alive?" A bitter laugh escaped me. "I'll try." She took a tentative step forward. "I lost my family. The bombing. It took everything I know." My voice cracked. "I lost plenty too." She looked down at the dirt, but I saw the tension in her small fists. "Do you want to come with me?" I asked gently. "Where?" "Anywhere but here. Somewhere. Safe." Her gaze flickered up, hesitant but desperate. After a moment, she nodded. We moved through the ruins, shadows stretching long in the dying light. I kept my senses sharp. Every noise a possible threat. Varix patrols could return at any moment, and the city was crawling with danger. "You have a family waiting?" I asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, just me." I didn't ask about what had happened. The silence between us said enough. "How did you survive?" finally said. She looked away, voice trembling. "I don't know. I just ran." "Running's good," I said, trying to sound sure. "But you need more than that." She sniffled, eyes watery. "I'm scared." "Me, too." She flinched, surprised by my honesty. "I've been fighting for years," I said, voice low. "Seen friends die, cities fall. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it." Lyra's small hand brushed against Mina, fragile connection in this broken world. "You don't have to be alone," I said softly. "Not anymore." Her eyes met mine, burning with something fierce and unspoken. We reached a temporary refugee camp outside the city. Makeshift tents and weary faces surrounded us. I guided Lyra to a medical tent, where a nurse gave her water and wrapped a torn blanket around her. "She's safe here," I said, watching her curl up like a wounded animal. One of the soldiers nearby grunted. "You planning to keep her?" I nodded without hesitation. "I promised her I'd protect her." "You sure you want that kind of responsibility?" the soldier asked, skeptical. "I don't have a choice." That night, I sat alone beneath the stars, the camp quiet, except for distant cries. I thought about the girl with fire in her eyes. I thought about the promise I'd made. Protecting her wasn't just about keeping her alive. It was about facing whatever storm she was bringing into my life. Because I could already feel it, a storm waiting to break. The next morning, Lyra followed me through the camp, clutching my hand like it was the last anchor she had. "Why did you find me?" she asked quietly. "Maybe I was looking for someone to save," I said honestly. She looked up, eyes wide. "Me?" I smiled, tired but genuine. "Yeah, you." She smiled back, a small, fragile thing, but it was the first real light I'd seen in months. Days passed. I trained her to move quietly, to watch for danger. We shared stories, mine of war and loss, hers of a childhood shattered too soon. One night she asked, "Do you think people can change?" I hesitated sometimes. Sometimes they don't. Her gaze held mine. I want to be different. I believed her. Maybe she was more than just a scared girl in the ashes. Maybe she was something dangerous, something powerful, something that could change everything. That night, I promised myself no matter what came next, I'd keep her safe. But deep inside, I knew I wasn't just protecting a girl. I was unleashing a force that could consume us both. The girl in the ashes had set fire to my world, and I was already burning. The docking bay smelled like metal and burnt ozone. I led Lyra through the narrow gangway toward the refugee fleet's main hub. Her small hand gripping my sleeve like letting go might drop her into space. "You're safe now," I said, though my voice came out rough. Her eyes flicked around the dim corridor. "Safe. Until the Variks find this place?" "They won't," I told her. "Not here. You sound sure." "I am." I wasn't. The airlock hissed open, revealing Captain Marin waiting with arms folded. His gaze went straight to Lyra, then to me. "You bring strays now." His tone was dry. "She's not a stray," I said. "She survived the new Shanghai bombing. Plenty survived. Doesn't mean they all belong here." Lyra half hid behind me. "I can work. I won't be a burden." Marin's eyes narrowed. "Work? Huh? And what do you think this place is? A market." "She's with me," I said, sharper than I intended. "That's supposed to mean something. It means I vouch for her." Marin gave a short laugh. "You vouch for a lot of people, Cade. How many of them stuck around? This one will." Lyra tugged at my sleeve. "I will," she said quickly. "I swear it." Marin looked between us, then sighed. "Your quarters, your problem. But remember this," his voice dropped. "People change when they taste power. Seen it 100 times. Don't be surprised if she does too." "She won't," he smirked. "Right? None of them ever do. Until they do." We moved past him into the living quarters. Lyra kept glancing over her shoulder. "You trust him?" she asked. "Enough to follow his orders. Not enough to share a drink. And you trust me." I looked at her. She was too thin, skin pale from dust and cold, eyes too old for her years. "I trust you to survive. That's enough for now." She nodded but didn't let go of my sleeve until we reached my door. Inside, the quarters were barely big enough for 2 people to stand without bumping shoulders. A small cot, a desk, a metal storage locker. "It's small," she said. "It's safe." She touched the edge of the cot. "This was yours. Still is." Her brow furrowed. "Then where will you sleep?" I shrugged. "Floor I've slept in worse." Her voice softened. "You didn't have to bring me here." I said, "I did." She hesitated. "Then why?" I thought of the ruins, the smoke, the bodies in the streets. I thought of the way she'd stood there, not crying, just watching the sky like she expected the next blast to take her. "'Cause I couldn't leave you there." Her gaze dropped. "No one's ever said that to me." "Then you've met the wrong people." Her lips trembled before she caught herself. "I won't forget this." I swear. I almost smiled. "Don't swear. Just keep your word." "I will." We sat in silence for a while, the hum of the ship around us. Then she spoke again. "What did the captain mean? About power changing people? Some folks start with nothing, and when they finally get something, money, rank, even a little respect, they forget what it was like to be hungry. They start thinking they deserve it all. And you think I'll be like that?" "No," I said without hesitation. Her eyes lit for a moment. "Then why did he say it?" "Because he doesn't know you." She nodded, but her fingers twisted in the blanket. "I'm not like that." "I believe you." The words came easily. To Isley that night, I took the floor while she slept. On the cot, I kept my eyes closed, but I didn't sleep much. Every sound of the ship made me alert: the clang of pipes, the distant murmur of voices. Somewhere out there, the Variks still hunted. Somewhere out there, war still raged. I thought about Marin's warning. People change when they taste power. I told myself it didn't apply to her. She'd been through too much, lost too much, to turn into one of them. Still, I remembered other faces, people I'd sworn to protect. People who swore they'd never forget what I did for them. People who later didn't look me in the eye. I told myself she was different. In the middle of the night, her voice came softly from the cockade. Cade, yeah, thank you. I almost told her not to thank me. Almost told her that thanks meant nothing in a world like this. But instead, I said, "You're welcome." Because in that moment, I wanted to believe her. That was my first mistake. The chamber was cold and vast, like the belly of a beast waiting to swallow us whole. Emperor Kale sat on his throne, an immense figure draped in shadows and cold light. The Varax guards flanked him, their armor gleaming like dark stars. I stood, stiff beside Lyra, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes on us, their eyes filled with hate and hunger. Kale's voice boomed across the hall, deep and mocking. "You come before me, tiny human, expecting mercy." He laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Tell me, why should I spare your pathetic fleet?" I clenched my fists, but kept silent. Negotiations were my job, but this was something else. This was power-laid Bureau force that crushed everything it touched. Lyra stepped forward suddenly. My heart nearly stopped. "What are you doing?" I hissed. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes locked on Kale's, unflinching. The Emperor's laugh faded, replaced by curious amusement. "A bold one," he said, tilting his head. "Speak, little flame. Why do you defy me?" Lyra's voice was clear and fierce. "Because we are not your slaves. 'Cause even in the ashes, humans rise. 'Cause no empire can hold a spirit like mine." Murmurs rippled through the hall, some skeptical, others wary. Kale's gaze sharpened. "And what spirit is that? Defiance? Pride?" "Foolish hope. The spirit of survival," she said, stepping closer, not a tremor in her voice. "You can break our cities, burn our homes, but you cannot break what lives inside us." I swallowed hard, amazed and terrified all at once. Here was this fragile girl standing tall against a god of war. The Emperor's smile was slow, cold, calculating. "Impressive," he said. "I should crush you for your insolence." Stead, ... double quotes. He paused, as if savoring the moment. "I will spare your people, for your spirit, human girl." A hush fell over the chamber. I glanced at Lyra. Her eyes shone, with something I hadn't seen before. Pride? Or something darker, something dangerous? "Do you understand what you've done?" I whispered as we stepped away from the throne room. She shrugged, barely hiding a smirk. I spoke my truth. "Isn't that worth something?" "It's worth survival," I said. "But it's also a chain. You've tied us to his mercy." Lyra looked away. It's better to be tied to hope than crushed by fear. Days passed, and the story of Lyra's defiance spread like wildfire through the fleet. She became a symbolic beacon of hope for the broken. But I couldn't shake the feeling that beneath her fierce words, something was stirring. Something I couldn't yet name. One evening, I found her alone by the observation deck, staring out at the stars. "You changed the game," I said quietly. She didn't turn. "They think I'm their savior." "Maybe I am," I frowned. "Or maybe you're something else entirely." She finally met my gaze, a shadow flickering in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I mean, that fire in you, it's not just hope. It's a warning." She smiled, but it was tight, almost cold. "Maybe I'm the storm coming." I took a breath, unsure if I was scared or ready. "I'm with you, no matter what." Her voice softened. "Then hold on tight, Cade, because this fight is just beginning." The Emperor's mercy was a double-edged sword. We had won a reprieve, but the chains of the Varax were tightening. And Lyra, my mysterious, fierce girl, was both our light and our storm. The fleet had changed. Lyra was the flame everyone rallied around, Now her name echoed louder than mine in the halls, in the mess lines, even in whispered prayers. I walked the corridors feeling invisible, swallowed by the cheers that once carried my own name. She stood out in alien silks, their colors shifting like liquid fire, while I wore the same torn uniform I'd had since the bombing stained. Faded, forgotten. One evening, the glow from the twin moons spilled through the observation decks. Window Lyra was there, her fingers tracing the constellations like they held secrets meant only for her. I joined her silently. You know, she said, not looking at me. This isn't enough anymore. I frowned. What do you mean? She turned, eyes bright and unsettling. Survival, ... It's just the beginning. We have to want more. We have to be more. I swallowed. We're not here to rule. We're here to live. That's all we can do. She shook her head, stepping closer. No, Cade, we can be more than survivors. We can shape the future. This fleet, these people, they deserve more than scraps. I looked at her, the fierce girl I'd saved from the ashes, now glowing with something dangerous. And who decides what that more is? You. Why not me? Her voice was steady, but there was fire beneath it. Why not us? I ran a hand through my hair, frustration bubbling up, 'cause power corrupts. Look at the Emperor. He's a tyrant. Lyra's eyes darkened. Then we won't be like him. We'll be better, smarter. I stepped back, shaking my head. That's not how it works. Her laugh was soft, but it held no humor. Maybe you're scared, Cade? Scared? I almost laughed bitterly. Maybe I'm just realistic. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned away. I don't want to just survive anymore. I want to build something worth living for. Building means sacrifice, I said quietly. We already lost too much. Her voice was firm. We'll lose more if we don't try. The silence between us was thick, filled with everything unspoken. Later that night, found myself staring at the stars, wondering when the girl I swore to protect became someone I couldn't recognize. Kale's invitation came wrapped in grandeur, a summons to the heart of Vorik's power. I wasn't sure whether to feel honored or trapped. Still, when the fleet's council agreed, I had no choice but to go. Lyra seemed almost eager, her eyes gleaming with a new fire. I told myself it was hope. Hope for peace. Hope for survival. But something about her excitement set my nerves on edge. The capital was a sprawl of towering spires and shimmering glass domes, alien in its beauty. At night, under the twin moons, the city pulsed with life's music and laughter drifting through the air like a thick perfume. I stood near the edges of the grand hall, watching as Lyra moved through the crowd, radiant in a flowing gown that caught every light. Then Kale appeared, tall, imposing with eyes like shards of obsidian. He took her hand without ceremony. The music swelled and they began to dance. It was like watching a dangerous game unfold. Lyra's smile was perfect, warm and inviting, but her eyes, when they flicked toward me, were cold and unreadable. That moment twisted something in my gut. Why does it feel like you don't trust me anymore? I whispered later. When she slipped away from the crowd to stand beside me on a balcony overlooking the city, her laugh was light, but it didn't reach her eyes. Trust is complicated, Cade. You know that. I thought we were in this together. We are. Her voice dropped, almost too quiet. But the rules are changing. I searched her face. What does that mean? Before she could answer, Captain Marin approached, her expression grim. Cade, we need to talk. Alone. I nodded and followed her into a private corridor. Marin's eyes held a weight I hadn't seen before. Lyra's been meeting with Kale without telling anyone. My heart slammed. What? How do you know? She's been sneaking off to the Emperor's chambers, talking to him in secret. I shook my head, trying to process it, but why? What could she possibly want from him? Marin's voice was low power influence. Maybe even more than that. Anger and betrayal burned inside me. She promised me she'd never forget what I did for her, that she'd stand with us. Marin's gaze softened for a moment. People change when they taste power, Cade. You have to be prepared for that. I clenched my fists, so what do I do now? Marin shrugged. Watch, wait, and be ready. Returning to the ballroom, I saw Lyra again, her smile as bright as ever, her eyes still cold. She raised a glass in my direction, and I returned a tight, hollow smile. That night, I lay awake wondering if I'd lost her already, or if I'd never really had her at all. They called me to the Grand Hall again, only this time it wasn't to honor me. Cale's voice echoed coldly through the marble chamber, and I felt the weight of every eye on me. The murmurs settled as he stepped forward, draped in his dark robes, eyes sharp as knives. Cade, he said, using my name like it was foreign, the human fleet needs new leadership. The words hit me like a blunt blow. I swallowed hard, trying to find the fight in me, but it was slipping away fast. I glanced to my left, and there she was, Lyra, standing beside Cale, calm and composed. Not a flicker of defiance in her eyes. Not a hint of the loyalty I thought she owed me. She didn't even look at me. Is this some kind of joke? I asked, my voice cracking. Cale's smile was cruel. No joke. You have served your purpose. It's time for change. I wanted to shout, to plead, but the room felt suffocating. Silence that followed was worse than any insult. They applauded his decision, the cold, hollow sound of betrayal. Lyra didn't clap. I caught her eyes for a split second, empty, distant. The woman I had sworn to protect was now his shadow, and I was discarded. After the ceremony, I retreated to my quarters. The walls closed in, the weight of failure pressing down. The bottle in my hand was cold and unforgiving. Why? Lyra, I muttered to the glass, staring at my reflection fractured by the liquid inside. She was supposed to be different. She was supposed to be the light after the darkness. Instead, she left me alone in the shadows. The stars outside blurred as I drank more, trying to erase the sound of that applause ringing in my ears. Every cheer was a hammer striking my name into dust. I poured another drink. Do you even remember who I am? I whispered to the empty room. Or have I become just a ghost? The bottle answered with a bitter sting. Memories flooded back our first meeting in the ashes. Her fierce eyes, the promise I made to protect her. Now those promises felt like lies. The night dragged on, and I sank deeper into the darkness. I wasn't sure if I was more afraid of losing my command or losing the woman who once made me believe in hope. The applause echoed again, mocking, relentless. I closed my eyes, hoping the morning would bring answers, but when dawn came, all I felt was the bitter taste of defeat. Would you like me to proceed with Chapter 7 next? Darkness. That's all there was. Walls closing in, water pressing from above. The Virex prison was cold and silent, except for the drip of water and the distant echoes of guards. They said I was guilty. Treason. A word that tasted like poison on my tongue. I sat on the cold metal bench, my hands shackled, my mind racing. Weeks in this watery tomb. And the only thing keeping me alive was the memory of her, Lyra, the girl I once saved from the ashes. The same girl who'd stood beside Cale when they took everything from me. I whispered her name, hoping for an answer. But only silence replied. Why? I muttered to the dark. Why did you leave me to rot? The pain twisted inside, but it wasn't just pain anymore, was fury. Cold, sharp, unforgiving. One night, as my eyes refused to stay closed, a shadow appeared through the metal bars. A woman stepped forward, her features hidden beneath a dark hood. But her eyes burned with intent. Juno, she said, voice low but steady. I narrowed my eyes. Who sent you? She smiled a dangerous, knowing smile. No one but myself. I leaned closer. Why help me? What's the catch? Her grin widened. You want out, don't you? Freedom beyond these walls. I didn't answer. Freedom was the only thing I craved, she continued. I can get you out. But there's a price. Name it, I said, heart pounding. Promise me this. She said, voice like a blade. When you're free, you burn it all down. Every last piece of their empire. I laughed, bitter and dry. Burn everything. Juno nodded. There. World built on lies and blood. They deserve to fall. I looked away, thinking of Kale, of Lyra's cold eyes. The man who stripped my name, the woman who abandoned me. Why me? I asked quietly. What do you want from me? She stepped closer. I want a storm, and you're the fire starter. I felt the weight of her words. This was no simple rescue. This was an invitation to war. Fine, I said, voice steady. I'll burn it all. Starting with them. Her smile was victorious. Good. I'll come back at midnight. Then she vanished into the shadows, leaving me with my thoughts and the sound of dripping water. That night, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about how far I'd fallen. The man who once believed in honor was now a pawn in a deadly game. But maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of my reckoning. The next days blurred into each other. Guards came and went. Always the same cold stares, the same empty threats. One morning, a new guard approached, different from the others. He unlocked my cell with a nod, no questions asked. Follow me, he said quietly. I didn't hesitate. We slipped through dark corridors, the water's pressure rising in my ears. The air smelled metallic, tinged with salt. Finally, we reached a hidden exita maintenance hatch that led to a narrow tunnel underwater. Swim fast, the guard said, or you'll drown. My lungs burned as I pushed through the freezing water. Every stroke fueled by anger and hope. When I broke the surface, Juno was waiting in a small craft, eyes fierce. Welcome back to the world, she said. I coughed, shivering, but a fire was growing inside me. Fire that refused to die. As the city lights faded behind us, I clenched my fists. I promised, I said quietly, and I'll keep it. Juno looked at me with approval. Good. You'll need that fire. I was, no longer, just a survivor. I was the beginning of their downfall. The palace loomed before me like a beast draped in gold and silk. Lanterns flickered, casting warm light on the polished marble floors where so many had bowed, so many had betrayed. Tonight was Kale's celebration, or maybe Lyra's coronation in disguise. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I had to see her. It's the woman who once trusted me and now wore the crown like a weapon. I slipped inside through a side door, my heart hammering against my ribs. The air smelled of incense and power, thick enough to choke a man's soul. Music echoed through the vast halls, laughter weaving with hushed whispers. And there she was, Lyra, crowned in gold. Draped in silks that shimmered like stars, she stood. Tall, radiant, while Kale, the so-called emperor, knelt before her, head bowed like a broken man. My chest tore open. I could barely breathe. I swallowed hard and whispered, Lyra. But she didn't hear me. The crowd roared, drowning my voice. They cheered for her, for Kale, for the empire they built on my ruin. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. A voice whispered behind me, cold and familiar. You came. I spun to face Juno, her eyes sharp as ever. I said, voice rough. I needed to see her. Juno nodded. It's worse than you imagined, isn't it? I looked back to the throne room. Lyra smiled, a smile I used to know. But now it was colder, sharper. She's changed, I muttered. And not for the better, Juno added, but this is your moment. I shook my head, struggling to hold back the storm inside me. Juno leaned closer. Remember why you're here, not for her. It's for what she took. I swallowed the lump in my throat. The crowd quieted. And Lyra raised her hand, silencing everyone like a queen born to rule. Kale rose slowly, his eyes locked on her. You are the light of this empire, he said, voice low, trembling. Kneel. To you, I saw the pride in Lyra's eyes, but also something else. Hunger. Power had twisted her, turned her into someone I barely recognized. My voice cracked as I whispered again, "Lyra." She glanced toward the crowd, her eyes scanning. I wondered if she sensed me, if any flicker of the past remained. A guard moved. Toward me, suspicion flashing in his eyes. Juno stepped forward. "I'm with him." The guard hesitated, then backed away. I exhaled, the tension loosening, but my heart was still pounding. "Do you want to confront her?" Juno asked. I shook my head. "No, not yet." Juno smiled faintly. "Good patience, let her think she's untouchable." I watched as Lyra turned, walking through the crowd, every step dripping with authority. She stopped briefly near a fountain, the water reflecting her golden crown. I stepped closer, barely breathing. "Lyra." I said louder this time. She froze, eyes meeting mine across the sea of faces. A flicker of something passed through her expression. Surprise? Regret? I couldn't tell. "Ethan," she whispered, voice like a ghost. My throat tightened. "Why?" She looked away, face guarded. "I had to survive," she said softly. "Kale made me who I am." I shook my head, anger and sorrow mixing. "Like fire. You didn't survive, you became them." Her eyes flashed with something dangerous. "We all do what we must." The crowd started to close in around her again. Juno nudged me. "It's time to go." I gave Lyra one last look, a mixture of heartbreak and resolve. As we slipped away, the distant cheers echoed behind us, but inside me, a new fire burned colder. Darker, sharper, Lyra had her throne, but I was coming for the crown. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 9 next? I've learned that empires don't fall with a roar, they crumble in silence. From the shadows, I started pulling threads, alliances, resources, secrets. Every small cut weakens the whole. One evening, in a dimly lit safe house, Kara sat across from me, her eyes cold and steady. She's an assassin who moves like a ghost, and she knows the game better than anyone. "You're digging into Kale's empire," she said, voice low. "You know what you're risking." Shrugged, trying to mask the tension tightening in my chest. "If you face Lyra," Kara said, "you won't win." I looked up, meeting her steady gaze. "I'm not here to win." Her brow furrowed. "Then what? You planning to lose?" "No," I said, voice hardening. "I'm here to end it." Kara studied me, the flicker of respect or maybe doubt in her eyes. "You think ghosts beg?" I asked, letting the words hang. She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned in, her whisper sharp as a blade. "She's no longer the girl you knew," Kara said. "Power changes people. She's ruthless." "I know." I told her about the nights I spent watching from the edges, listening to whispers in corridors, tracking shipments of weapons, exposing corrupt generals loyal to Kale. Every piece I uncovered was a nail in their coffin. "But don't underestimate her," Kara warned. "She's not just a leader, now she's a storm." The thought didn't scare me. It fueled me. "Why are you helping me?" I asked, voice quieter. Kara shrugged, eyes flicking to the cracked window. "Let's just say I owe you." I remembered the day she saved me from a trap I didn't see coming. Since then, she became my shadow, my edge. We planned our moves carefully, no mistakes, no loose ends. I contacted old allies, planted seeds of doubt among Kale's generals, turned their spies against each other. One night, Kara pulled me aside. "Face serious, Ethan," she said. "You're getting close." I nodded. "Good, but she's watching," Kara warned, every step. "One wrong move, and it's over." I felt the weight of her words, but I refused to let fear rule me. I told her about the message I intercepted, a plan to secure loyalty with a public display of power. Lyra wanted to remind everyone she ruled without question. "We stopped that," I said. Kara smirked. "Now you're talking." Our next move was daring. We hacked the palace communications, spreading false orders, confusing their ranks. Kale's generals argued, suspicion grew like wildfire. I caught myself thinking about Lyra. The coldness in her eyes at the celebration still haunted me. But I pushed it aside. This wasn't about her anymore. It was about justice, my justice. Week later, Kara handed me a dossier: names, locations, transactions. Proof of betrayal within Lyra's closest circle. If you want to strike the heart, Kara said. I flipped through the files, a plan forming in my mind. We'll cut the head off the snake, I said quietly. Kara nodded. But don't expect her to fall easily. I don't want her to fall easy, I replied. I want her to break. The tension between us was thick, but we worked in perfect sync. Nights blurred as we chased leads, evaded patrols, and plotted our assault from the shadows. One late evening, I found myself staring at a picture Lyra, once innocent, now untouchable. I whispered, "This ends soon." Kara touched my shoulder. "It will." I looked up at the ceiling, the weight of what I'd lost settling deep. "You ever regret it?" Kara asked softly. I didn't answer right away. Sometimes, I admitted. But ghosts don't beg for mercy. She smiled, sharp and knowing. "We're almost there," she said. The Empire was cracking. Alliances. Shifted generals whispered in fear, and Lyra's iron grip was loosening. But I knew the real battle was yet to come. Facing her would be the final test. And I wasn't sure if I'd win. But I didn't need to. I only needed to end it. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 10 next? The knock at the door was soft but urgent. I wasn't expecting visitors, especially not at this hour. I opened it to find Lyra's younger brother. His face was pale, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept for days. "I need to talk," he said, voice barely above a whisper. I stepped aside, letting him in. His breath hitched as he sat, clutching his side. "UN?" I asked, concern threading through my voice. "You look terrible." He managed a weak smile. "Sick. They say it's only a matter of time." I searched his face, the boy I once saw in fleeting moments before Lyra's rise. Now, the weight of everything pressed down on him too. "Why are you here?" I asked, wary. He swallowed hard. "I need you to stop." I blinked. "Stop what?" "Her," Un said, voice cracking. "Please, don't kill her." I laughed bitterly. "You think it's that simple?" He shook his head, tears glistening. "She's not who you think she is anymore." "What do you mean?" I pressed. Eren leaned forward, desperate. "The power, it's changed her. But deep down, she's still my sister. The one who saved me when the bombs fell. The one who begged for peace." I clenched my fists. His words gnawed at the edge of doubt I never let show. "You don't know her like I do," I said, voice cold. "She betrayed everything we fought for." Eren's eyes flashed with pain. "She's scared too. She's lost more than you realize." I stared at him, trying to find the girl I once believed in. Buried beneath the steel and gold. The plan's moving forward. I told him, "There's no turning back." "Please," UN whispered, reaching for my hand. "Save her." "Not for me, for the people who still believe in her." I hesitated, the room growing heavy with silence. "Why should I believe you?" I asked. He looked away, voice faint. "Because I'm dying. I don't want her to die with hate in her heart." I looked into his eyes, so fragile, yet full of hope. "Un," I said softly, "if I stop, what then? What happens to us?" He smiled weakly. "Maybe she'll remember who she really is. Maybe she can be saved." I swallowed hard. His plea stirred a storm inside me, but the cold logic of my mission stayed firm. "She's not the girl I once knew," I said, voice low. "And I'm not the man I used to be." UN nodded. "Neither am I." I stood, walking to the window, staring at the city lights flickering like dying stars. "Do you think she'll listen?" I asked, more to myself. Eren's voice was steady now. "I believe she will, if you give her the chance." The room felt smaller, the weight of my choices pressing down. "I don't know if I can," I admitted. "You don't have to," he said, squeezing my hand. "Just don't give up." His words echoed in my mind long after he left. The plan. was set, the wheels turning fast, unstoppable. But now a crack had formed, one that threatened everything. I wasn't sure if it would save her or destroy us all. The grand hall was packed, sea of humans and aliens alike, all watching, waiting. The tension was thicker than any armor I'd worn in battle. Kale stood at the center, proud and unyielding, or so I thought. I stepped forward, a voice steady but loud enough to cut through the murmurs. Kale, this ends today. Surrender, or watch your empire crumble. He looked at me, eyes blazing with fire and fury. You, the man who lost everything? You think you can break me? I didn't flinch. I don't think. I know. Lyra sat on her throne, draped in golden silks that caught the light like stars. Her gaze was cold, unreadable. Her lips trembled once, but she said nothing. That silence was louder than any shout. Kale's face twisted, pride battling defeat. You want me to kneel? His voice cracked. You want me to beg? Yes. I took another step closer. Kneel? Beg for Earth's mercy. The crowd fell silent. Even the stars outside seemed to hold their breath. Kale's knees hit the floor with a sound like breaking glass. His hands clenched the ground. Mercy? His voice was barely a whisper. Mercy. I saw the cracks in his armor. The man who once ruled countless worlds reduced to this. Lyra's eyes flicked to me. Then back to Kale. There was a storm behind them, pride, pain, regret. Is this what you wanted? I asked her quietly, stepping beside the throne. To see him like this? She didn't answer. Kale's head bowed lower, almost touching the floor. I beg for your mercy, Earth. Spare my people. The words echoed in the hall, swallowed by the weight of history. I felt a strange mix of victory and emptiness. This wasn't just the end of a war, it was the end of something personal, something deeper. Enough, I said, voice firm. Let this be the start of peace. But know this: any threat, any betrayal, and I will not hesitate. Kale nodded. Defeated. The crowd erupted into cautious applause, but I barely heard it. My eyes were on Lyra. She rose from her throne, slow and deliberate. Her gaze locked with mine. I never wanted this, she said softly, voice trembling. Then, why? I asked. She looked away, biting her lip. Power changes people, even me. I saw the girl I once knew flicker behind those eyes, swallowed by something darker. Will you lead us now? I asked, her shoulders tensed. I don't know if I'm ready. Neither am I admitted. But we have to try. We stood. There. The weight of everything pressing down. The war was over, but the silence between us was louder than any battle cry. Would you like me to generate Chapter 12 next? The palace gardens were strangely quiet, no guards, no whispers, no eyes watching us. Just the soft rustle of alien leaves under a pale sky. Lyra stood by the fountain, her back to me, fingers tracing the water's edge like it held the answers. She was seeking. I didn't expect you to come, Jay said without turning around. I stepped closer, the crunch of gravel beneath my boots loud in the stillness. I needed to hear it from you, not from rumors or shadows. She finally looked at me, eyes tired but steady. You want the truth? Yes. She sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 battles. I did everything. For Earth, for humanity. Without Kale, without his empire, we'd be ashes by now. I narrowed my eyes, the bitterness bubbling up like poison. You saved Earth by destroying me. Her lips trembled, but she didn't deny it. You were my friend once, but survival changes everything. Survival? I laughed, low and hollow. You called it unity. I called it betrayal. Lyra's gaze dropped to the ground. Maybe we were both right. I took a step forward, voice shaking with the storm inside me. Did you ever care? About what you were doing to me, to us? She looked back up, and for a moment I saw the girl I thought I knew, the girl who once dreamed of more than power. I cared. More than you'll ever understand. Then why? Because power. is the only language they hear. Her voice was barely a whisper, because without it, we lose everything. The garden around us seemed to hold its breath. The silence between us was heavier than any war. "I'm not sure if I hate you or pity you," I admitted. She smiled sadly, a fragile thing that didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe both." I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to scream, to rage. Instead, I asked the question that had haunted me since the throne room. Was there ever a part of you that wanted to come back? To be the Lyra I knew? She closed, her eyes, a single tear slipping down. "Every day." "Then why this?" I gestured at the palace, the throne, the empire she built on ashes. "Why this path? Because sometimes the only way to save what you love is to let go of who you were." The words cut deeper than any blade. I swallowed hard, voice barely steady. "So this is goodbye." She nodded, stepping back toward the shadows. "It's the only way we survive." I watched her disappear into the darkness. The last flicker of something human fading from her eyes. The garden felt colder, emptier, and I realized this wasn't just the end of a war. It was the end of S. Would you like me to continue with chapter 13? The throne room was colder than I expected. Not because of the stone beneath my boots or the chill in the air, but because of the silence that stretched between us like a wound too deep to heal. Lyra sat on the throne, regal and unyielding, the weight of her crown heavy on her head. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting moment, a glance filled with everything we never said. I didn't speak. Words felt useless now, swallowed by years of betrayal and bloodshed. She broke the silence first. "You don't have to stay. You never did." I took a slow step forward. "I'm not here for a throne." She smirked faintly, the shadow of the girl I once knew. "Then what are you here for? To leave?" Her brow furrowed. "Leave? After everything?" I nodded. "After everything. My name won't be remembered in the history books. Not like yours. That's fine." Her voice was steady, almost calm. "Let me carry the weight of this victory." I studied Hertha Emperor, the Queen of Ashes. "You think it's a victory?" She leaned back, eyes dark. "Victory is what you make of it. Sometimes it's just survival." I swallowed the bitterness in my throat. Some victories cost too much. Lyra's gaze softened, a trace of regret flickering beneath her iron. "Resolve, mercy is a blade. Sharp, but necessary." I couldn't decide if she meant it for me or herself. "I spared Kale," I whispered, "because mercy isn't weakness." She nodded. "And neither is survival. We both chose our paths." I looked away, the weight of the throne pressing down on her like a shroud. "What happens now?" She smiled, a fragile, sad curve of lips. "Now I rebuild. And you?" I cut her off. "I disappear." Her eyes searched mine, unblinking. "Disappear? After all this?" "After all this." I stepped toward the exit, the distant hum of my ship calling me home. Before I turned, she spoke again. "Don't forget, the war isn't over inside us." I paused, voice low. Maybe that's the real battle. The hallway stretched long and dark, but I didn't look back. Outside, the air was thick with ash and the scent of burnt hope. My ship awaited, engine silent but ready to roar. As I climbed aboard, felt a strange mix of relief and loss. The stars blinked cold light through the viewport. I whispered to myself, the words barely audible. Some victories cost too much. The planet grew smaller behind me, a world scarred but still standing. Lyra's silhouette faded, throne and all, but her shadow lingered in my mind. Maybe she was right. Mercy was a blade. And sometimes, the sharpest cuts came from letting go. I settled into the pilot seat, hands steady on the controls. The galaxy stretched before me unknown, vast and merciless, but for the first time in a long time,